Do you think he knows? That was the only thought racing through my mind as I watched the color drain out of his face. He dropped his champagne glass. It smashed on the floor, sending shards of expensive crystal everywhere, but he didn't even look down. He didn't apologize to the waiter who jumped back in surprise. He didn't look at the mess near his polished dress shoes. He was looking at me. Then, his eyes shifted. He looked at the man standing behind me, the tall man with a warm hand resting protectively on my shoulder. And that's when I saw the fear. Real, genuine, terrifying fear. I had played this moment out in my head 1,000 times. In the shower, in the car, late at night when I couldn't sleep. I used to imagine I would scream at him. I used to imagine I would slap him. But now that it was actually happening, I felt incredibly calm. They say that living well is the best revenge. That's a nice sentiment. But looking into the eyes of the man who left me to die, and letting him see exactly what I had become without him, that isn't just revenge. That is justice. My name is Layla. And 5 years ago, my life ended in a dirty bathroom stall off I-95. Today, I'm the CEO of one of the fastest-growing marketing firms in the state. But this isn't a story about business. This isn't a story about pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. This is a story about what happens when the trash takes itself out, and you realize you were better off without it. Before I tell you how I got here, and trust me, you are going to want to hear about the woman clinging to his arm, I need to check in with you. How are you doing right now? Where are you listening from? Is it late at night? Are you on your way to work? I know life gets heavy. I know sometimes you look at the people you love and wonder if you really know them. If you have ever felt betrayed, or alone, or like the odds were stacked against you, I want you to hit that subscribe button right now. Do it for yourself. Join this community. We tell the truth here. We support each other here. Because 5 years ago, I didn't have anyone. I don't want you to ever feel that way. So please, subscribe and turn on notifications. Let's walk through this together. But let me start from the beginning. Back when I was stupid. Back when I was 24. I was young, and I was exhausted. I was the mother of 6-month-old twin boys, Leo and Sam. I loved them more than oxygen, but I was drowning. My husband, Elias, was the only lifeline I had. Or so I thought. We had been married for 3 years. We met in college. He was charming, ambitious, the kind of guy who always had a plan. When I got pregnant with the twins, he was the one who said we could make it work. He was the one who said I should quit my job at the library to focus on the babies because daycare was too expensive. I trusted him. I trusted him with my life, my finances, and my heart. But things had been tense. Elias was working late constantly. He was irritable. He snapped at the babies when they cried. He told me I had let myself go, even though I was barely sleeping and keeping 2 humans alive. Then came the suggestion. Let's go to my parents' cabin, he said one Friday morning. Just for the weekend. We need a reset. We need to be a family again. I was so relieved. I thought he was finally trying. I thought he saw how hard I was struggling and wanted to help. I packed everything. The portable cribs, the diapers, the formula, the clothes. I packed his favorite snacks. I made sure the house was clean before we left. I wanted everything to be perfect. We left at 8 p.m. The babies fell asleep in the back seat almost immediately. It was a 4-hour drive. I remember looking over at him in the driver's seat. The dashboard lights cast a green glow on his face. He looked focused, intense. Are you okay? I asked him. He didn't look at me. I'm fine, Layla. Just tired. I can drive for a bit if you want, I offered. No, he said. Too quickly. No, I've got it. You sleep. I didn't sleep, though. I just watched the road markers fly by. I felt a strange knot in my stomach. You know that feeling when you forget something important, but you can't remember what it is? It felt like that. He kept checking his watch. Not his phone, his watch. It was an old analog watch his father gave him. He kept glancing at it every few minutes, tapping his fingers on the steering wheel. I told myself he just wanted to make good time. I told myself he was just anxious to get to the cabin and relax. I was so naive. I didn't realize he wasn't checking the time. He was counting it down. Around 2 a.m. A cigarette pack, unopened, and a note stuck to it with a piece of gum. I ran over and picked it up. My hands were trembling so hard I almost dropped it. It was written on the back of a receipt. I can't do this anymore. Don't look for me. I'm sorry. That was it. 10 words. 10 words to end a marriage. 10 words to orphan 2 children. I stared at the paper. I couldn't breathe. My chest felt like it was being crushed by a vice. He didn't get kidnapped. He didn't get hurt. He left. He planned this. The road trip. The reset. It was all a lie to get me out here, miles from home, with no money and no way to contact anyone. I looked back at the car. My babies were alone in there. I ran back to the car, tears streaming down my face, blinding me. I opened the back door to get to them. And then, the realization hit me. A second wave of horror, worse than the first. The car seats. They were buckled in, but the bases were detachable. And we had the stroller in the trunk. But I couldn't get into the trunk. I couldn't drive the car. I couldn't call a taxi. I was 3 hours from home. I grabbed Leo out of his seat. I grep sam. I held them both against me, their little bodies heaving with sobs. I had nothing. No diaper bag. I realized with a sick jolt that the bag I thought was in the back seat was actually just a bag of toys. The real supplies were in the trunk. He had taken everything. He had left me with 2 hungry babies, no food, no money, and no coat. I stumbled back toward the gas station store. It was my only option. I pushed the door open with my back, clutching my boys. The clerk looked up again. His expression changed when he saw the babies. "Please," I sobbed. "Please, I need to use your phone. My husband," he left. He took the keys. The clerk looked at me, then looked out the window at the dark car. He didn't look sympathetic. He looked annoyed. "Phones for business only," he grunted. "Please," I begged. "I have babies. They're hungry. I don't have anything." He sighed, a heavy, irritated sound. He reached under the counter and pulled out a greasy landline phone. He slammed it on the counter. "Make it quick." I dialed my mom's number. My fingers were shaking so bad I misdialed the first time. I dialed again. "Pick up. Please pick up." "Hello." Her voice was groggy. It was 2:30 a.m. "Mom," I choked out. "Mom, it's Layla. Elias left me. He left me at a gas station." "What?" She sounded confused. "Layla, you're breaking up. Who is this?" "Mom, it's me. I'm stranded." "I can't hear you," she said. "The static. Call me back." Click. The line went dead. I looked at the phone. No signal. The storm that had been threatening all night was finally breaking overhead, messing with the lines. I looked at the clerk. It cut off. "Can I try again?" He snatched the phone back. I said, "Make it quick. I need to close up for cleaning in 10 minutes. You can't stay here." "What?" I stared at him. "You can't kick me out. It's freezing outside. I have infants." "Store policy," he said, turning his back on me. "No loitering. You can wait in your car." "The car is locked. I don't have keys. It's going to get below freezing tonight." He shrugged. "Not my problem, lady. You got 10 minutes. I stood there, stunned. The cruelty of the world was crashing down on me all at once. My husband abandoned me. My mother couldn't hear me. And this stranger was going to throw us out into the cold. I retreated to the bathroom. It was the only place with a lock. The only place he couldn't force me out of immediately. It was filthy. It smelled like stale urine and bleach. The fluorescent light buzzed and flickered. I sat on the cold tile floor, leaning against the graffiti-covered wall. I cradled Leo and Sam. They were crying from hunger now. I tried to nurse them, but I was so dehydrated and stressed that nothing was happening. I sat there and I wept. I cried until my throat burned. I looked at my reflection in the cracked mirror on the opposite wall. Mascara running down my face. Hair wild. Eyes hollow. I looked like a ghost. I'm sorry, I whispered to my babies. I'm so sorry I picked him. I'm so sorry. I didn't know what to do. I was 24, and my life was over. And then, the door handle rattled. Stores closed, the clerk's voice boomed from outside. Get out. I pulled my legs in tighter. I'm not leaving. I screamed back. You'll have to drag me out. There was silence. Then, I heard a different voice. It wasn't the clerk. It was deeper, rougher, but softer, somehow. Hey, the voice said through the door. Is everything okay in there? I heard babies crying. I froze. I didn't know who this was. Was it someone dangerous? Go away, I yelled. I'm not gonna hurt you, the voice said. I'm the janitor. I just came on shift. The clerk, Jimmy, he went home. He told me there was a crazy lady in the bathroom. But you don't sound crazy. You sound scared. I didn't answer. I just held my boys tighter. I have a sandwich, the voice said. And I have a car. It's a beat-up old truck, and it smells like cleaning supplies, but the heater works. I looked at the door. I had a choice. Stay in this bathroom and freeze when they eventually called the cops to remove me, or trust this stranger. I stood up. My legs were numb. I walked to the door and unlocked it. A man stood there. He was tall, with broad shoulders and work boots that had seen better days. He had kind eyes. Sad eyes. He held a mop in one hand and a foil-wrapped sandwich in the other. He looked at me. He looked at the babies. He didn't look at me with pity. He looked at me with recognition. Like he knew exactly what it felt like to be at the bottom of a hole with no ladder. My name is Caleb, he said gently. Let's get those babies somewhere warm. I didn't know it then, but that moment, that decision to open the door, was the moment my old life died and my new life began. I didn't know that Caleb would become the father my children deserved. I didn't know that 5 years later, I would be standing in a ballroom, looking at the man who abandoned me. But as I stood there in the gala, holding Caleb's arm, watching Elias tremble, I knew one thing for sure. Elias wasn't just scared because he saw me. He was scared because he saw the woman next to him looking at me too. And I recognized her. It took me a second, but I placed her face. And suddenly, the memory of that night at the gas station changed. The pieces slammed into place. The text messages I hadn't seen. The secret phone calls. The way he kept checking his watch. He hadn't just left me. He had been picked up. And looking at the woman in the red dress clinging to his arm, I realized exactly who had been driving the getaway car. The woman clinging to Elias's arm wasn't a stranger. She wasn't some random socialite he met at a country club. She wasn't a new hire at his firm. It was Veronica, my best friend. The woman who held my hand while I was in labor with the twins for 26 hours. The woman who sat on my kitchen floor and drank cheap wine with me when I was crying about my stretch marks. The woman who I trusted with the keypad code to my house, the passwords to my accounts, and the deepest insecurities of my heart. Seeing her there, in a red dress that cost more than my old annual salary, looking at me with those cold, panic-stricken eyes, it didn't just break my heart. It rewrote my entire history. Because if Veronica was the one driving the getaway car that night, then I didn't just lose a husband. I lost the only two people in the world I thought were on my team. To understand why this cuts so deep, you have to understand who we were before the gas station. You have to understand how good of a liar Elias was. And how blind I was. I met Elias when I was 21. I was working at the campus library, shelving books, and he was the charming grad student who always forgot his ID card just so he'd have to talk to me at the front desk. He was electric. That's the only way to describe him. He had this energy that made you feel like you were the only person in the room. He was ambitious, smart, and so incredibly focused on our future. I'm going to build an empire, Layla, he used to tell me, tracing the lines of my palm. And you're going to be the queen. I believed him. Why wouldn't I? He worked harder than anyone I knew. We got married right after graduation. It was a small wedding, but it was perfect. And standing right beside me as my maid of honor was Veronica. Veronica and I had been inseparable since freshman year. She was everything I wasn't, bold, loud, unapologetically ambitious. She worked at the same firm Elias did. In fact, she was the one who got him the interview. We're the three musketeers, she used to joke. Me, you, and Elias against the world. For the first 2 years, it felt like that. We were happy. We were a team. Elias was climbing the corporate ladder, I was managing a small bookstore, and Veronica was our constant third wheel, coming over for Sunday dinners and movie nights. But then, I got pregnant. It wasn't planned. And when we found out it was twins, the dynamic shifted. I remember the day I told Elias. He didn't smile. He sat down heavily on the edge of the bed and put his head in his hands. Two, he asked. How are we going to afford two, Layla? We'll figure it out, I said, rubbing his back. We always do. But we didn't figure it out. Not really. The pregnancy was hard. I was on bed rest for the last 3 months. I had to quit my job. The medical bills started piling up. Elias was working longer hours, coming home later and later, smelling like office coffee and stress. And who was there to pick up the slack? Veronica. She was an angel. Or at least, she played the part perfectly. She brought over casseroles. She drove me to my doctor's appointments when Elias was too busy. She helped me set up the nursery. I remember one afternoon specifically. I was 8 months pregnant, swollen, feeling like a beached whale. I was sitting on the couch, folding tiny onesies, and Veronica was in the kitchen making tea. You're so lucky, Layla, she said, leaning against the doorframe. Lucky! I laughed bitterly. I can't see my toes, V. We have $5,000 in credit card debt. Elias barely looks at me. She sipped her tea, her eyes unreadable. But you have the family. You have the life. Elias loves you so much. He's just stressed. He wants to give you everything. I don't need everything, I said. I just need him. He's doing this for you, she said firmly. He's working this hard for you. Don't be ungrateful, Layla. It makes him feel like he's failing. That comment stuck with me. Don't be ungrateful. So I stopped complaining. I swallowed my loneliness. When Elias came home at 10 p.m., barely mumbled hello, and went straight to sleep, I told myself he was a hero. I told myself he was sacrificing himself for us. Then the twins were born. Leo and Sam. They were premature, tiny little fighters. They spent 2 weeks in the NICU. Those 2 weeks broke something in Elias. He hated the hospital. He hated the beeping machines. He hated how small and fragile they looked. He visited once, stayed for 10 minutes, and left because he had a meeting. I sat by their incubators alone. Well, not alone. Veronica came. He's just scared, she told me, holding my hand while I cried over my sons. Men don't process things like we do, Layla. He feels helpless. Give him time. She was always defending him. always explaining his cruelty away as stress or fear. And I ate it up. I needed to believe her, because if I didn't, I would have to admit that my husband didn't love our children. When we finally brought the boys home, the house became a war zone of sleeplessness. Colic, diapers, crying. Elias moved into the guest room. I have to work, he said coldly. I can't function on 2 hours of sleep. So I did it alone. 24/7. I was a zombie. I stopped wearing makeup. I lived in sweatpants with spit-up stains. And Veronica? She started spending more time with Elias. We have a big project at work, Elias told me. Veronica is the only one who understands the accounts. We have to pull an all-nighter. Again? I asked, bouncing a screaming Sam on my hip. Do you want us to lose the house, Layla? He snapped. Do you want to pay for all these diapers with magic beans? I am doing this for us. I felt so guilty. I felt like a burden. So I let them go. I let them work late. I let them go to business dinners, while I stayed home and pumped breast milk and cried. About a month before the gas station incident, things got weird. I found a receipt in Elias's pants pocket when I was doing laundry. It was for a bracelet. A diamond tennis bracelet. $3,000. My heart leaped. Our anniversary was coming up. I thought, asterisk, he still loves me. He's working this hard to spoil me. Asterisk. I put the receipt back, smiling for the first time in months. I waited for our anniversary. I made a special dinner, burned the chicken a little because Leo was fussing, but I tried. I put on a dress that was a little too tight now, but I wanted to look pretty for him. He came home late. He forgot it was our anniversary. And he didn't give me a bracelet. I didn't say anything. I thought maybe he was waiting for the right moment. Maybe he was saving it for a birthday. 2 days later, Veronica came over. She was wearing a new bracelet. It caught the light as she reached for a glass of water. A delicate diamond tennis bracelet. My stomach dropped. That's beautiful, I said, my voice trembling. She looked at it and smiled. A secret, satisfied smile. Oh, this. Yeah, I treated myself. I got a bonus at work. Finally decided to spoil myself since I don't have a man to do it for me. I believed her. Can you believe that? I am telling you this now, and I want to shake my past self. I want to scream at her. It's the same bracelet, you idiot. But I trusted her. She was my best friend. She wouldn't do that. And Elias, he was stressed, he was distant, but he wasn't a cheater. He was a family man. I convinced myself the receipt I saw was for a client gift. Or maybe I misread the numbers. I rationalized it away because the alternative was too painful to look at. And that brings us to the week of the trip. Elias came home one Tuesday, looking gray. He sat at the kitchen table, staring at the wall. I can't do it anymore, he whispered. What? I asked, putting down the bottle I was washing. The pressure, the noise, the city. I feel like I'm suffocating, Layla. He looked at me with those sad puppy dog eyes that used to make my knees weak. I need to get away, he said. Just us. Just the family. My parents said we can use the cabin. Let's just go. This weekend. Please. I was hesitant. Traveling with 6-month-old twins is a nightmare. But he looked so desperate. And I was desperate too. Desperate to reconnect. Desperate to find the husband I missed. Okay, I said. Let's do it. He exhaled, like a weight had been lifted. Thank you. You don't know what this means to me. The next day, Veronica came over to help me pack. She was buzzing with energy. She helped me fold the baby clothes. She helped me organize the diaper bag. You guys need this so bad, she said, zipping up the suitcase. It's going to be great. Just the 4 of you. In the woods. No cell service. Just peace. She handed me a pack of gum. Here. For the road. I looked at her. You're the best friend a girl could ask for, V. She hugged me. It was a tight hug. Almost too tight. Take care of him, Layla, she whispered in my ear. He deserves to be happy. I will, I promised. I didn't know then that she wasn't asking me to take care of him. She was saying goodbye. She knew. She knew the plan. She knew that the diaper bag she just helped me pack didn't have enough formula for a weekend. She knew that Elias had emptied our joint savings account that morning. I found that out later. She knew that the business trip she was supposedly going on that weekend was actually a one-way ticket to a new life with my husband. I stood in the driveway and waved goodbye to her as she drove off in her red sedan. I remember thinking, I'm so lucky to have people who care about me. And then, I got in the car with Elias. I remember the way he looked at the house as we pulled out of the driveway. He didn't look like he was leaving for the weekend. He looked like he was memorizing it. Did you lock the back door? He asked. Yes, I said. Good, he muttered. Good. We drove into the night. Toward the gas station. Toward the end of my life. I want to pause here for a second. I need to ask you something. Have you ever had a gut feeling you ignored? Have you ever had a little voice in the back of your head telling you that something was wrong, but you told it to shut up because you didn't want to cause a scene? I did. For 3 years, I ignored every sign. I painted over every red flag with the color of love. If you are in a situation right now where you feel like you're the crazy one, where you feel like you have to walk on eggshells to keep the peace, please listen to me. You are not crazy. You are being conditioned. Don't wait until you're stranded in the freezing cold to realize your worth. Subscribe to this channel right now, because in the next part of this story, I'm going to tell you what happened after the janitor, Caleb, picked me up off that bathroom floor. I'm going to tell you how I went from a homeless single mom to the woman who could make Elias freeze in terror just by walking into a room. But before we get to the triumph, we have to get through the fire. Because that night at the gas station wasn't just about abandonment. It was a setup. And as I stood in that bathroom with Caleb, drying my tears, I didn't realize that the real danger hadn't even started yet. Elias and Veronica hadn't just left me. They had left me with a debt that wasn't mine, a car that was reported stolen, and a legal mess that would almost take my children away from me. The betrayal wasn't over. It was just beginning. I stood in the doorway of that dirty bathroom, looking at Caleb. In any other universe, in my old life, I would have been terrified of him. He was big. He was wearing stained coveralls. He had a scar running through his left eyebrow and his hands were rough, covered in calluses and grease. He looked like the kind of man I would cross the street to avoid. But in that moment, he looked like the only angel God had left on duty. My truck is around back, he said, his voice low. It's got a car seat. Just one, though. My nephew uses it sometimes. We'll have to strap the other little guy in with the belt the best we can. I nodded. I couldn't speak. My throat was swollen shut from crying. I stepped out of the bathroom. The clerk, Jimmy, was behind the counter, aggressively wiping it down. He glared at me. Finally, he spat. Get out. Cops are already on their way. I froze. You called the police? Damn right I did, Jimmy sneered. Loitering. Disturbance. Child neglect. You can't just camp out in a business, lady. My heart hammered against my ribs. Child neglect. I didn't neglect them. I screamed, the anger finally breaking through the shock. My husband left us. We are victims here. Tell it to the judge, Jimmy said, not even looking up. Caleb stepped between me and the counter. He didn't say anything to Jimmy. He just put a large, heavy hand on my back. Let's go, he said. Don't engage. It's not worth it. He guided me out the back exit, into the freezing night air. The wind hit my wet face and it stung. I held Leo and Sam tight against my chest, trying to shield them with my body. Caleb's truck was an old Ford F-150. It was rusted around the wheel wells and one headlight was taped over. But when he opened the door, a blast of heat hit me. He had left it running. "Get in," he said. I climbed into the cab. It smelled like old coffee and sawdust. It was cluttered but clean. I fumbled with the car seat in the back. I put Leo in the seat. I sat in the back with Sam, buckling myself in and holding him tight in my lap. Caleb got in the driver's seat. He put the truck in gear. "Where do you want to go?" he asked, looking at me in the rearview mirror. "I can take you to a shelter in the next town. Or a police station." I hesitated. "I don't know. My mom. I need to call my mom again." The line cut out. "Okay," Caleb said. "We'll find a spot with better reception up the road. But we need to get away from here before the cops show up and hassle you." He pulled out of the lot. We didn't get far. Just as we were turning onto the main road, I saw them. Blue and red lights flashing in the distance, coming fast down the highway. 2 cruisers. "There they are," Caleb muttered. Jimmy wasn't lying. I felt a surge of relief. "Maybe I should talk to them," I said, leaning forward. "They can help. They can put out an APB for Elias. They can track the car." Caleb slowed down. He looked unsure. "You sure?" "Cops out here, they aren't always the most helpful types." "I have to report him," I said. "He stole our car. He stole my purse. He abandoned his children." Caleb pulled the truck onto the shoulder, about 100 yards down from the gas station. "He killed the lights. Let's just watch for a second," he said. "See what they do." We watched through the back window. The 2 cruisers screamed into the gas station parking lot. They didn't park near the store. They parked directly behind Elias's abandoned car at Pump 4. Wait. Why was the car still there? I thought Elias took it. I thought he drove off. But when I looked closer, squinting through the darkness, I saw it. Our silver sedan. Still parked at the pump. He didn't leave with the car? I whispered, confused. But the keys were gone. Then I saw the officers get out. They didn't walk casually. They had their hands on their holsters. They approached the car tactically. One on the left, one on the right. Flashlights beaming into the windows. They opened the doors. They checked the trunk. Then, one of the officers walked into the store. A minute later, he came out with Jimmy. Jimmy was pointing down the road, pointing right at where we were parked in the shadows. "Something's wrong," Caleb said. His voice was tight. He turned on the radio. It was an old CB radio, scanning local channels. He twisted the dial. Static. Then, a voice cut through. Asterisk, suspect fled on foot or in an unknown vehicle. Clerk states she was agitated. Screaming. Asterisk. Asterisk, copy that. Description. Asterisk. Asterisk, female, white, mid-20s. 2 infants. Be advised, dispatch has a flag on the ID associated with the vehicle plate. Husband called it in 30 minutes ago. Asterisk. My blood turned to ice. What? I whispered. Elias called it in? The radio crackled again. Asterisk. Caller states wife is suffering from severe postpartum psychosis. States she threatened to harm the children and herself. Warning, she may be armed. Consider dangerous. Asterisk. The world stopped spinning. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't hear the wind. All I could hear was that voice on the radio. Asterisk, postpartum psychosis. Threatened to harm the children. Asterisk. That's a lie. I screamed. That's a lie. He left me. He's the one who left. Caleb turned around. His face was grim. Quiet, he hissed. Listen. Asterisk, Husband is waiting at the precinct in Reckless County. Says she took the keys and threw them in the woods, then ran off. He's asking for immediate protective custody of the infants. Asterisk. I sank back into the seat. It was a trap. The whole thing. He didn't just leave me. He framed me. He knew that if he just divorced me, I would get custody. I was the primary caregiver. I was the stable one. He would be on the hook for child support for 18 years. He would lose half his assets. But if I was crazy, if I was a danger to the kids, if he could prove I was unstable, he would get everything. Full custody. The house. The sympathy of everyone we knew. Poor Elias, his wife just snapped. And he had Veronica to back him up. I could hear her voice in my head. Asterisk, she's been so emotional lately. She's been seeing things. I was worried about her. Asterisk. They had planned this perfectly. The isolation. The stress. The reset trip to the middle of nowhere. Leaving me with no phone, no money, and then calling the cops with a sob story before I could even get to a landline. If those police officers found me right now, they wouldn't listen to me. I looked like a wreck. I was hysterical. I had no ID. I had no money. And I was in a strange man's truck. They would take Leo and Sam. They would hand them over to Child Protective Services for the night, and by morning, Elias would pick them up. And I would be in a psych ward on a 72-hour hold. And once you're in the system as unstable, you never get out. You never get your kids back. He's trying to take them, I choked out. He's trying to steal my babies. I looked at Caleb. I was terrified he would turn me in. Why wouldn't he? I was a fugitive now. A dangerous woman. Caleb looked at the flashing lights in the rearview mirror. Then he looked at me. He looked at Sam sleeping in my arms. He looked at the tears streaming down my face. He had a choice to make. I had a sister, Caleb said quietly. Her ex did the same thing. Told everyone she was a junkie. She wasn't. He just had better lawyers. He put the truck in gear. He didn't turn on the headlights. Hold on, he said. He drove the truck off the shoulder, down into the drainage ditch running alongside the highway. It was bumpy. I shielded the babies' heads. We rolled through the tall grass, hidden from the road by the embankment. We drove like that for a mile, crawling through the mud and weeds in the dark, until we were far enough away from the police lights. Then, he pulled back onto the road and gunned it. Where are we going? I asked, trembling. My place, he said. It's not much, but it's off the grid. They won't look for you there. I can't go to your house, I said. I don't know you. You don't have a choice, Layla, he said. And he was right. We drove for 30 minutes in silence. I used that time to try and find a way out. Can I use your phone? I asked. A smartphone? I need to check something. He handed me a cracked Android phone. Data is spotty. I frantically typed in my bank website. I needed to see if I had any money. If I could hire a lawyer. If I could rent a hotel room. Login failed. I tried again. Asterisk login failed. Please contact bank. Asterisk. I tried our joint credit card account. Account frozen. I went to my email. I typed in my password. Password incorrect. He had changed everything. In the last 3 hours, while I was freezing in a parking lot, Elias had systematically locked me out of my own life. He had cut off my access to money, communication, and information. I was a ghost. I checked my social media. Facebook. Instagram. There was a new post on Elias's page. Posted 1 hour ago. It was a picture of him and the boys from a month ago. He looked like a doting father. The caption read, asterisk, please pray for our family. Layla is missing and she is not herself. If you see her, please do not approach her. Call the police immediately. We just want our boys home safe. Asterisk. There were hundreds of comments already. OMG Elias, I am so sorry. I knew she seemed off lately. Praying for you and those babies. We love you, Elias. Stay strong. Layla was always a bit unstable. Hope they find her. And there, the top comment. From Veronica. Asterisk, I am devastated. I tried to get her help last week, but she wouldn't listen. We are here for you, Elias. Whatever you need. Asterisk. I dropped the phone. It clattered to the floor of the truck. I felt like I was going to throw up. The betrayal was so absolute, so complete, it made me dizzy. They had been planting seeds for months. Every time I complained about being tired, unstable. Every time I cried, depressed. Every time I asked for help, overwhelmed. They took my struggles as a new mother, struggles that every mother has, and weaponized them against me. We pulled up to a small trailer at the end of a dirt road. It was surrounded by trees. There were wind chimes on the porch made of old silverware. Caleb killed the engine. We're here, he said. I didn't move. I clutched my sons. I can't pay you, I said. I don't have anything. He took it all. Caleb turned in his seat. I don't want your money, Layla. Then why? I asked. Why are you helping me? I'm a wanted woman. If they find me here, you'll go to jail for kidnapping or harboring a fugitive. Caleb looked out the windshield at the dark woods. I told you about my sister, he said. She lost her kids. She fought for 2 years to get them back. She died of an overdose before she could. She gave up. He looked at me, his eyes fierce. I couldn't save her. But I'll be damned if I watch another mother get crushed by a man in a suit. He opened his door. Come on. I have goat's milk in the fridge. It's not formula, but it'll settle their stomachs for tonight. And I have a guest room with a lock on the door. You can sleep. I'll sit on the porch with my shotgun. Nobody is coming through that door tonight. I stepped out of the truck. The ground was muddy. The air was silent. I walked up the creaky steps of that trailer. I carried my whole world in my arms. That night, I put the twins in a drawer I lined with blankets because there was no crib. I watched them sleep. I didn't sleep. I sat in a rocking chair by the window, watching the driveway. I realized something then. The Layla who left her house that morning was dead. The naive, trusting, sweet wife? She died at the gas station. Elias wanted a villain? He wanted a crazy woman? Fine. I would become exactly what he feared. But not yet. Right now I was prey. I was weak. I was hunted. I needed to disappear. I needed to die so I could be reborn. I looked at the phone Caleb had lent me. I picked it up. I had one more call to make. One person Elias might not have gotten to yet. One person who hated Elias almost as much as I did right now. My estranged aunt. The lawyer. I dialed the number. It was 4 a.m. She picked up on the third ring. Who is this? Aunt Sarah, I whispered. It's Layla. Don't hang up. I need you to tell me how to vanish. There was a silence on the other end. Layla. Her voice was sharp. The police just called my house looking for you. My heart stopped. What did you tell them? I told them to go to hell, she said. And then I hung up. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. Good, she said. Now tell me everything. And don't skip the part about the bitch in the red dress. Because I saw her driving your car yesterday afternoon. My eyes went wide. You saw Veronica? I saw her, Sarah said. She was at the bank. With Elias. They were moving money, Layla. Lots of it. The catastrophe wasn't just emotional. It was financial. They had emptied the accounts before we even left for the trip. Listen to me closely, Aunt Sarah said. Throw that phone away. Right now. They can ping the towers. Get the battery out. I fumbled with the phone, ripping the back off, tearing the battery out. And Layla, I imagined her voice, even though the line was dead. Don't come to me. Don't go to your mom. Go underground. If you want to keep those boys, you have to cease to exist. I sat in the dark trailer. Silence all around me. I was a fugitive. I was broke. I was alone with a stranger. But I had one thing Elias didn't count on. I had the truth. And 5 years from now, I was going to beat him with it. But first, I had to survive the winter. And let me tell you, that winter almost killed us. The first month in Caleb's trailer wasn't living. It was hiding. I became a nocturnal animal. I slept during the day with the blackout curtains drawn and duct taped to the frames, clutching the boys while Caleb was at work. At night, I paced the small linoleum floor, waiting for the sound of tires on gravel that would mean the police had found us. We were 3 hours away from where Elias left me, deep in the Appalachian foothills. It was cold. Bone-deep cold. The kind of cold that hurts your teeth. Caleb's trailer had a propane heater, but propane cost money. And Caleb didn't have much of that. I watched him struggle. I watched him come home from his shift at the gas station at 6 a.m., his eyes red-rimmed, his hands smelling like bleach. He would eat a bowl of instant oatmeal, check the perimeter of the property, and then sleep for 4 hours before going to his second job at a lumberyard. He was working himself to death to keep a stranger and her 2 babies alive. One night, about 3 weeks in, I found him sitting at the tiny kitchen table, staring at a stack of bills. He didn't see me. I saw him rub his face, a gesture of pure exhaustion. I walked out of the bedroom. "We can't keep doing this," I whispered. He jumped. "I didn't hear you up, Layla. I'm a burden," I said. "You're drowning because of me. I need to leave. I can go to a shelter in the city." "No shelters," Caleb said firmly. "They take ID. They run names. You step foot in a shelter, and Elias has those boys by sunset." "Then I need to work," I said. "I can't just sit here." "It's too dangerous," he argued. "Your face is, well, it's not famous, but locally? People might know." "Then I'll change it," I said. I went into the bathroom. I found a pair of kitchen shears and a box of black hair dye Caleb had bought for his graying roots but never used. I looked at myself in the mirror. Long, blonde hair. The hair Elias loved. He used to brush it for me. He used to say it was my best feature. Snip. I cut it all off. A jagged, uneven bob that barely covered my ears. I dyed it pitch black. I looked 10 years older. I looked harder. When I came out, Caleb stared at me. He didn't say I looked good. He said, "Okay, you look different enough." He got me a job at a diner 2 towns over. It was a cash-only place, a dive where truckers stopped for greasy eggs. The owner, a woman named Big Sue, didn't ask questions. She saw a desperate woman with "trouble" written all over her, and she put an apron on me. I became Mary. I scrubbed dishes until my hands bled. I waited tables for tips that barely covered the cost of diapers. I learned to keep my head down. I learned to never look anyone in the eye for too long. But the pressure was always there, like a low hum in the back of my skull. Every time a police cruiser drove past the diner, I froze. Every time a customer looked at me a little too long, I planned my exit route. And then there was the deception. The lies Elias was telling were getting bigger. I saw it on the TV in the diner break room about 2 months after I ran. It was a local news segment. Asterisk, the search continues. Asterisk. There was Elias. He was standing in front of our house, my house. He was wearing a black sweater, looking thin and pale. He was holding a teddy bear. Leo's teddy bear. "We just want them home," Elias said to the camera, his voice breaking perfectly. "My wife, she's not well. I forgive her. I just want to make sure she gets the help she needs and that my boys are safe." The camera panned out. Veronica was standing next to him, her hand on his back. She looked solemn, supportive. "We've set up a GoFundMe to help with the private investigator costs," the reporter said. "The family is offering a $50,000 reward." $50,000. I nearly dropped my coffee mug. Where did he get $50,000? We were drowning in debt when I left. He said we were broke. He said we couldn't afford daycare. And suddenly, the math started to click. The business trips. The late nights. The secret account Veronica helped him set up. He hadn't been working late. He had been funneling money. My money. Our money. He had been stealing from our future to fund his escape. And now, he was using that stolen money to hunt me down. The anger I felt in that moment was so hot it frightened me. I wanted to scream. I wanted to call the station and yell, "He's lying. He's the thief. But I couldn't. Because the narrative was already set. To the world, I was the crazy kidnapper. To the world, he was the grieving saint. I went back to the trailer that night and I told Caleb. "He has money," I said, pacing the floor. "Lots of it. He's been planning this for years, Caleb. He didn't just snap. This was calculated." Caleb was feeding Sam a bottle. He looked up at me. "So what do you want to do?" "I want to hurt him," I said. "I want to expose him." "You can't," Caleb said. "Not yet. You're a ghost, remember? Ghosts can't testify." "Then I need to stop being a ghost," I said. "I need to become something else." That night, I started studying. I couldn't go to school. I couldn't get a degree. But I had the internet, via prepaid hotspot Caleb bought, and I had a brain that used to manage a library. I started learning about digital marketing. SEO. Content strategy. Why? Because I saw how Elias was manipulating the media. I saw how he was using keywords, emotional hooks, and visual storytelling to paint me as a villain. He was marketing his lie. If I wanted to beat him, I had to be better at the game than he was. I started small. I offered to help Big Sue with the diner's Facebook page. I took photos of the food. I wrote funny captions. I engaged with customers online. Within a month, the diner's business doubled. People were driving in from the highway just to try the famous pie I had hyped up online. Sue gave me a raise. A small one, but it was money I made with my brain, not my back. It was the first spark of hope. But hope is dangerous. It makes you careless. One afternoon, about 6 months in, I was at the grocery store. I had the boys in the cart. I was rushing, trying to get formula and get out. I turned the corner of the aisle and slammed into a woman. "Oh, excuse me," I said instinctively. The woman looked at me. She was older, well-dressed. She narrowed her eyes. "You look familiar," she said slowly. I kept my head down. "I just moved here." "Excuse me." I tried to push past her, but she blocked the cart. "No," she said, tilting her head. "I know those eyes. I saw you on the news. You're the missing mom. The one who took the twins." My heart stopped. The store went silent. "You're mistaken," I said, my voice shaking. "I'm not," she said. She reached into her purse. "I'm calling the police. That poor man has been looking everywhere for you. Panic is a funny thing. It makes time slow down." I saw her hand moving for her phone. I saw the exit 50 feet away. I saw the security guard by the door. I had 2 choices: beg or run. I grabbed the diaper bag. I grabbed Leo under one arm and Sam under the other. I left the cart. I left the groceries. "Hey!" the woman shouted. "Stop her! It's the kidnapper!" I ran. I burst out the automatic doors. I sprinted across the parking lot, slipping on the slush. The boys were crying. I threw them into the back seat of Caleb's truck. I had borrowed it for the errand, and fumbled with the keys. I saw the security guard running out of the store. He was on his radio. I got the truck started. I peeled out of the lot, tires screeching. I drove like a maniac. I took back roads. I doubled back. I made sure no one was following me. When I got back to the trailer, I collapsed on the floor. I was shaking so hard I couldn't unbuckle the boys. Caleb came home an hour later. He found me sitting in the dark, the boys asleep on the floor next to me, a shotgun across my lap. "We have to go," I said. "We have to move." She saw me. Caleb sat down next to me. He took the gun from my hands. "We can't move, Layla. The truck broke down yesterday after you parked it. I can't fix the transmission. We have no money for gas. We're stuck." "They'll come," I whispered. "That woman called the cops." "Maybe," Caleb said. "Or maybe they'll think she was just another person seeing Elvis at the grocery store. There have been 100 sightings of you, Layla. Most of them in other states." He put his arm around me. It was the first time he had touched me like that. Not as a savior, but as a partner. "We stay put," he said. "We lay low. You don't leave this property for a month. I'll do the shopping." "I'm scared, Caleb," I admitted. "I'm so tired of being scared." "I know," he said. "But fear keeps you alert. Fear keeps you alive." We survived the scare. The police never came. It was just another false lead in a sea of false leads. But that night changed me. I realized I couldn't just survive. I couldn't just scrape by and hope Elias forgot about me. He wasn't going to forget. He had a $50,000 bounty on my head. I needed to change the playing field. I started working harder on my marketing skills. I started taking online freelance jobs using a fake name and a VPN. I built websites. I managed social media for small businesses in other states. I worked while the babies slept. I worked while Caleb slept. I worked until my eyes burned. Money started trickling in. Real money. Cryptocurrency, mostly, so it couldn't be traced. And as I worked, I started digging. If Elias was a thief, there had to be a paper trail. If Veronica was his accomplice, there had to be evidence. I spent my nights hacking, well, guessing passwords is more accurate, into old email accounts. I scoured public records. And then, on the first anniversary of the abandonment, I found it. It wasn't a smoking gun. It was a thread. I found an LLC registration. Phoenix Consulting, registered in the Cayman Islands. The registered agent. A shell company. But the recovery email address for the domain registration?
_v88@gmail.com.
Veronica. She had registered a shell company 3 months before the twins were born. I dug deeper into Phoenix Consulting. It was a marketing firm. A firm that had just landed a massive government contract. A firm that was essentially doing the exact work Elias was doing at his old job, but off the books. He wasn't just stealing from me. He was stealing from his employer. He was diverting clients to this fake company, run by Veronica, and pocketing the profits. That's where the money came from. That's why he needed to leave. He was about to get caught at his firm, and he needed an exit strategy. He needed to disappear, but he couldn't just vanish. He needed a tragedy. He needed a distraction. I was the distraction. The crazy wife story wasn't just to get custody. It was to cover his tracks. If everyone was looking at the poor, grieving husband, nobody was looking at his accounting books. I sat back in my chair. The glow of the laptop screen illuminated the dark trailer. I looked at the sleeping twins. They were walking now, toddling around, saying, "Mama," and "Caleb." They didn't remember Elias. They didn't remember the father who threw them away. I looked at Caleb, asleep on the couch, his hand hanging off the side. I had the thread. Now I just needed to pull it. But I wasn't ready to pull it yet. I needed more power. I needed more money. And I needed to make sure that when I finally yanked that thread, the whole world was watching. I closed the laptop. "Happy anniversary, Elias," I whispered to the dark. "You enjoyed your first year of freedom. But I promise you, it will be your last." But just as I felt a surge of strength, just as I felt like I was finally getting a foothold, the universe decided to kick me in the teeth one more time. The phone rang. Not the burner phone. The landline Caleb had installed for emergencies. The number nobody had. I stared at it. It rang again. Loud. Jarring. Caleb woke up. He looked at me, then at the phone. He picked it up. "Hello." He listened. His face went pale. He looked at me with an expression I had never seen before. Total devastation. He hung up slowly. "What?" I asked. "Who was it?" "It was the hospital," Caleb said, his voice hollow. "It's my mom. She had a stroke. She's not going to make it." "Oh, Caleb, I'm so sorry," I said, rushing to him. "She's in the city," he said. "In the same city where you lived. Where Elias is." He looked at me. "I have to go to her, Layla. I have to go say goodbye." "Of course you do," I said. "But I can't leave you here," he said. "The generator is acting up. The food is low. And the landlord is coming for an inspection on Tuesday. If I'm not here to bribe him, he'll find you." He took a breath. "You have to come with me." "I can't go back there," I said. "That's the lion's den." "We don't have a choice," Caleb said. "We go together, or we lose everything." So, 1 year after I escaped, I was going back. Back to the city where my face was on telephone poles. Back to the city where my husband was playing the grieving hero. I was going back into the fire. And I had no idea that I was about to walk straight into Veronica. The city looked exactly the same. That was the most offensive part. I expected the skyline to look sinister. I expected the streets to be paved with ash. But as Caleb's truck rattled over the bridge and into the downtown district, the sun was shining on the glass skyscrapers. People were walking their dogs. Couples were holding hands. The world had kept turning while I was rotting in a trailer. I sat low in the passenger seat, wearing an oversized hoodie and dark sunglasses. My heart was a jackhammer against my ribs. "Keep your head down," Caleb murmured. He was gripping the steering wheel so hard his knuckles were white. He was in pain, his mother was dying, but he was worried about me. We pulled into the parking garage of St. Jude's Hospital. It was dark, concrete, and smelled of exhaust. "I'll be an hour," Caleb said, turning to me. His eyes were wet. I need to say goodbye. Will you be okay here?" "I'll be fine," I lied. "I'll lock the doors. I'll lie on the floorboard if anyone walks by." He squeezed my hand.
I'm sorry, Layla.
"I know this is dangerous." "Go," I said gentle. "She's your mom. Go." He left. I watched his broad back disappear into the elevator bank. For the first 20 minutes, I stayed put. I counted the cars driving by. I listened to the hum of the city. But my mind was racing. I was 10 miles from Phoenix Consulting. 10 miles from the address I had found in the Cayman Island registration. 1422 Oakwood Drive. I knew that neighborhood. It was the wealthy suburb on the north side. The kind of place where the driveways were heated and the lawns were manicured with scissors. I looked at the burner phone Caleb had left me. I shouldn't. It was suicide. If I got caught, it was game over. But the anger was a living thing inside me. I was so close. I needed to know what Phoenix Consulting actually was. Was it an office? A P.O. box? I looked at the clock. Caleb said an hour. He would probably be longer. Goodbyes take time. I made a choice. A stupid, reckless, necessary choice. I put on a baseball cap I found on the floor of the truck. I tucked my dyed black hair up. I slipped out of the truck. I didn't take an Uber, too traceable. I took the bus. I paid cash. I sat in the back, head down, watching the city roll by. I got off 2 blocks from Oakwood Drive. I walked the rest of the way. The houses got bigger. The fences got higher. I found 1422. It wasn't an office building. It wasn't a corporate HQ. It was a house. A sprawling, modern mansion with floor-to-ceiling windows and a 3-car garage. I stood behind a large oak tree across the street, my heart pounding in my throat. This was where my money went. This was where the stolen funds from Elias's firm and the contents of our savings account had ended up. A silver car pulled into the driveway. My breath hitched. It was our car. The sedan he had left at the gas station. He had reclaimed it. He was driving it. The garage door opened. Elias stepped out. Seeing him in the flesh was like being punched in the gut. He looked good. He was tan. He was wearing a tailored suit. He didn't look like a grieving husband. He looked like a man who had just closed a big deal. He walked around to the passenger side. He opened the door. Veronica stepped out. She was laughing. She threw her head back, her hand on his arm. They looked radiant. They looked like the perfect couple. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run across the street and claw his eyes out. But then, the back door of the car opened. I froze. I expected to see nothing. Maybe a briefcase. But a child climbed out. A little girl. She had dark curly hair and a pink backpack. She looked about 5 years old. I frowned. Who was that? A niece. A friend's kid. The little girl ran up to Elias. He scooped her up in his arms. He spun her around. She squealed with delight. "Daddy!" she screamed. "Daddy, look at me! Daddy!" The world tilted on its axis. My vision blurred. Daddy! That was impossible. The twins were 1 year old. We had been married for 3 years. Before that, we dated for 2. If this girl was 5, Elias put her down. She ran to Veronica. She grabbed Veronica's hand. "Mommy, can we swim?" the girl asked. "Not yet, Chloe," Veronica said, smoothing the girl's hair. "We have to unpack first." "Mommy." I fell to my knees in the dirt behind the tree. I couldn't breathe. I physically couldn't get air into my lungs. It wasn't just an affair. It wasn't just a betrayal. It was a lie. The whole thing. My entire marriage. My entire life with him. He didn't cheat on me with Veronica. He was cheating on her with me. Or worse. I was the side piece he married for some other reason. I did the math, forcing my brain to work through the shock. Chloe was 5. That meant she was born a year before Elias and I got married. He had a family. A whole, secret family with my best friend. They had been together the entire time. Why? Why marry me? Why have children with me? And then I remembered something. Something from the very beginning of our relationship. My grandfather. My grandfather had passed away the year I met Elias. He left me a trust fund. Not a huge one, but significant. It was locked until I turned 25. Or until I got married and had children. The nest egg I used to joke about. The money I told Elias we should save for retirement. I realized with a sick, cold clarity that I had signed transfer papers a month before the trip. Elias had said it was to move the money into a higher yield investment account for the twins' college fund. I gave him access. I gave him everything. He didn't love me. He never loved me. I was a job. I was a bank account with a heartbeat. He married me, got me pregnant to unlock the trust stipulations, drained the account, and then discarded me. And Veronica? My best friend. She wasn't just helping him. She was waiting for him. She was the wife in waiting, watching me play house with her husband, knowing the whole time that I was just a temporary inconvenience. I watched them walk into the house. The perfect family. The family built on my bones. I felt a scream building in my chest, a primal, animal sound. I covered my mouth with both hands to stifle it. Tears streamed down my face, hot and stinging. I was nothing. I was less than nothing. I was a mark. I needed to leave. I needed to get back to Caleb. I needed to vomit. I turned to crawl away. Snap. I stepped on a dry twig. It sounded like a gunshot in the quiet suburb. Across the street, in the driveway, Veronica stopped. She hadn't gone inside yet. She was getting something out of the trunk. She turned. She looked directly at the oak tree. She lowered her sunglasses. I pressed myself against the bark, closing my eyes, praying to a God I wasn't sure I believed in anymore. Asterisk, don't see me. Please don't see me. Asterisk. Honey. Elias's voice floated from the front door. You coming? Silence. Yeah, Veronica called back. Her voice was slow. Suspicious. I thought I saw a stray dog. Leave it, Elias said. Come inside. I heard the trunk close. I heard her heels click on the pavement. I waited 5 minutes, then 10. I sprinted. I ran back to the bus stop. I didn't look back. I felt like the devil himself was snapping at my heels. When I got back to the hospital garage, Caleb was leaning against the truck. He looked wrecked. His eyes were red and puffy. His mom had passed. He looked up and saw me. I must have looked insane, sweating, shaking, dirt on my knees, eyes wild. Layla! He straightened up. What happened? I was so worried. You weren't in the truck. I collapsed into his arms. I buried my face in his chest, smelling the hospital antiseptic and his old flannel shirt. He has a daughter, I sobbed. Caleb, he has a daughter. She's 5. Caleb held me tight, stroking my hair, but I could feel him stiffen. What? Veronica. They have a kid. They were together before me. It was all a con. All of it. We stood there in the dark garage, 2 broken people holding each other up. We have to kill him, I whispered. I didn't mean it literally. Or maybe I did. I want to kill him. No, Caleb said, pulling back to look at me. His voice was hard. We don't kill him. Death is too easy. He needs to suffer. He needs to lose everything, piece by piece, just like you did. He opened the truck door. But right now we have to go. My mom, she's gone. And I think someone followed me out of the ICU. What? A nurse. She kept looking at me. Then she got on the phone. She said, I think the husband is here. The one from the news. She thought I was Elias. My blood ran cold. They think you're Elias? We look a little alike, Caleb said. Dark hair. Build. If she called the cops. Sirens. We heard them wailing in the distance, getting louder, echoing off the concrete walls of the garage. Get in, Caleb commanded. We jumped in the truck. He peeled out of the spot. We hit the exit ramp just as a police cruiser turned into the entrance. Caleb swerved around it, hopping the curb. Hey, the cop shouted over his PA. Stop the vehicle. Hold on, Caleb yelled. He gunned it. The old truck roared. We shot out onto the city streets. It was a chase. A low-speed, terrifying chase in a beat-up truck through downtown traffic. They're going to catch us, I cried, looking back. 2 more cruisers were joining the pursuit. Not today, Caleb said. He took a sharp right down an alleyway. Sparks flew as the side of the truck scraped the brick wall. He navigated the maze of backstreets like he knew them by heart. I used to drive a delivery van down here, he gritted out. I know where the cameras aren't. We wove through the industrial district, losing the sirens for a moment. Caleb pulled the truck into an abandoned car wash bay and killed the lights. We sat in the silence, breathing hard. We can't go back to the trailer, Caleb said in the dark. They have my plate number now. They'll trace it to the trailer park. I looked at him. We were homeless again. Fugitives again. But this time it was worse. Because now I knew the truth. I have nothing, I whispered. I have no money. No home. And now I know my whole life was a lie. Caleb reached across the console and took my hand. His grip was iron. You don't have nothing, Layla. You have the truth. And you have me. He looked at me with an intensity that burned. You know his secret now. He has a hidden family. A hidden life. That is his weakness. If the authorities find out he was laundering money to a secret wife, his grieving husband act falls apart. If the IRS finds out about Phoenix Consulting, he goes to prison. But how do we prove it? I asked. I can't walk into a police station. No, Caleb said. We don't go to the police. We go to the public. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a crumpled piece of paper. It was a brochure from the hospital waiting room. Annual Charity Gala, Marketing Innovators of the Year. I saw this on the bulletin board, Caleb said. Look at the keynote speaker. I squinted at the paper in the dim light. Keynote speaker, Elias Thorne, CEO of Thorne and Associates. Date, 4 years from now. No, that wasn't right. The brochure was for this year. He's speaking next month, Caleb said. At the Grand Hotel. So, Caleb said. We have a month. We disappear. We rebuild. We get strong. And then, we crash the party. I looked at the brochure. I looked at Elias's smiling face. I thought about the little girl, Chloe. I thought about the twins sleeping in a drawer. I thought about Veronica in her red dress. A cold, hard resolve settled over me. The fear evaporated. It was replaced by something much more useful. Hate. Pure, high-octane hate. Okay, I said. Let's crash the party. But as we sat there, planning our revenge, I didn't notice the shadow moving outside the car wash bay. I didn't notice that we hadn't lost everyone. A flash of light blinded us.
A camera flash.
We both ducked. What was that? Caleb yelled. He threw the truck into reverse, spinning us out of the bay. I looked out the window. Standing there, holding a long-lens camera, was a man in a trench coat. A private investigator. He lowered the camera. He smiled. A nasty, jagged smile. He had the shot. Me. Caleb. Together. Elias knew. The game had just changed. We weren't hiding anymore. We were in a race. And I intended to win. We ditched the truck 3 miles away, under a crumbling overpass in the industrial district. It was the hardest thing I'd had to do since leaving the gas station. That truck was our home. It was our shell. Without it, we were just soft meat in a city full of wolves. We can't drive it, Caleb said, wiping grease from his forehead. That PI has the plate. Every cop in the city will be scanning for it within the hour. He grabbed the duffel bag with our few clothes. I grabbed the diaper bag and the laptop case, my lifeline, my weapon. I strapped Sam to my chest and held Leo's hand. He was stumbling, tired, and whining softly. Where do we go? I asked. The wind was cutting through my thin hoodie. Underground, Caleb said. We walked. We walked until my feet bled in my cheap sneakers. We walked away from the streetlights, away from the cameras, into the parts of the city that people pretend don't exist. We found an abandoned textile factory near the river. The windows were boarded up with plywood, but Caleb found a loose sheet around the back. We squeezed through. It was pitch black inside. It smelled of mold, rot, and old machinery. "This is it," Caleb said, clicking on a small flashlight. "Home sweet home." We set up camp in what used to be a foreman's office. It had 4 walls and a door that locked from the inside. We laid our coats on the floor for the boys. That first night in the factory, I didn't sleep. Every creak of the building sounded like footsteps. Every drip of water sounded like a gun cocking. But the real descent didn't happen that night. It happened 3 days later. We were running out of food. The cash Caleb had in his pocket, about $40, was gone. We had spent it on diapers and 2 cans of formula. We were eating stale crackers. My phone, the burner, buzzed. I stared at it. Nobody had this number except Caleb. And Caleb was sitting right next to me, sharpening his pocket knife. I picked it up. A text message. An image. My stomach dropped. It was a photo of us. Taken from a distance, but clear as day. It was taken this morning when Caleb went out to buy water. The text underneath read, *, you look tired, Layla. Give it up. I can end this pain right now. *. It was Elias. He wasn't just tracking us. He was toying with us. I showed the phone to Caleb. His jaw tightened. "He's watching," Caleb said. "He knows exactly where we are." "Then why doesn't he send the cops?" I whispered. "Why doesn't he come get the boys?" "Because he doesn't want the boys," Caleb said darkly. "He wants to break you first. If the cops raid us now, it's messy. But if you walk into the precinct and surrender, if you hand them over because you can't feed them, then he wins the narrative completely. *, mother returns children after realizing she can't care for them. *, he comes out the hero. I threw the phone against the wall. It shattered. "I will never give them up," I hissed. But my resolve was tested that night. Leo started coughing. It was a wet, rattling cough. His forehead was burning up. I held him, rocking him back and forth on the dirty floor. "Shoo, baby, shoo." He wouldn't stop crying. He was hot. So hot. "We need medicine," I told Caleb. "We need antibiotics." "I can't go to a pharmacy," Caleb said. "Cameras." "Then steal it." I screamed. "I don't care. He's dying." Caleb looked at me. He nodded. He stood up, pulled his hood up, and left into the night. I sat there alone in the dark for 3 hours. Just me, a sick baby, and the ghosts of my mistakes. I want to ask you something. Have you ever had to choose between your pride and your child's life? Have you ever looked at a fever thermometer and prayed for it to go down, promising God you'd do anything, take any punishment, just to see that number drop? If you have, you know the darkness I was in. And if you haven't, I hope you never do. If you're listening to this and you're safe and warm, take a second to be grateful. And please, hit subscribe. Because stories like this, they remind us how fragile safety really is. Caleb came back at 3 a.m. He was limping. His face was swollen. His lip was split wide open. But in his hand, he held a bottle of infant Tylenol and a box of amoxicillin. "Caleb!" I gasped. "What happened?" "Security guard," he mumbled, spitting blood on the floor. He was faster than he looked. He handed me the medicine. "Give it to him." I dosed Leo. I watched his fever break an hour later. I cried with relief. But Caleb was hurt. Badly. He had a cracked rib, I was sure of it. He could barely breathe without wincing. We were falling apart. Physically, mentally. We were dirty, starving, and injured. And then, the bottom fell out. The next morning, I woke up to a sound. Crunch. Glass breaking. I sat up. The sunlight was streaming through the cracks in the boarded-up windows. The door to our office room, the door I had locked, was kicked open. 3 men stood there. They weren't police. They weren't wearing uniforms. They were wearing leather jackets and holding baseball bats. I screamed. I threw my body over the twins. Caleb tried to stand up, but his ribs screamed in protest. He stumbled. One of the men stepped forward. He was the guy from the car wash. The PI. "Morning, sunshine," he grinned. He didn't look at the kids. He looked at the corner of the room, at the laptop bag. "Grab it," he told the goon on his left. "No." I shrieked. "No, please." I lunged for the bag. That bag had everything. The evidence of Phoenix Consulting. The screenshots of the bank transfers. The proof that Elias was a criminal. The goon shoved me. Hard. I flew backward and hit the wall, my head cracking against the concrete. Stars exploded in my vision. Caleb roared. Despite his injuries, he tackled the man. But there were 3 of them. The 3rd man swung his bat. Crack. It hit Caleb in the back of the knee. He went down. Then a boot to the face. "Stop!" I screamed. "Stop it! You're killing him!" The PI picked up the laptop bag. He unzipped it. He checked the drive. He smiled. "Mr. Thorne sends his regards," the PI said. He reached into his pocket and pulled out an envelope. He tossed it onto my lap. "And he wants you to have this." They turned and walked out. Just like that. They didn't take the kids. They didn't call the cops. They took the only leverage I had. I crawled over to Caleb. He was unconscious. Blood was pooling under his head. "Caleb," I sobbed, shaking him. "Caleb, wake up." He groaned. He opened one eye. It was already swelling shut. "Did they get it?" he wheezed. I nodded, tears dripping onto his face. "They got it. They got everything." I looked at the envelope in my lap. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a single piece of paper. A legal document. Petition for voluntary termination of parental rights. And a sticky note attached to it in Elias's handwriting. Asterisk, sign it. Drop it off at the precinct. And I'll wire you $100,000 to disappear. Or keep running, and I'll make sure Caleb goes to prison for kidnapping and assault. Your choice, Layla. 24 hours. Asterisk. I stared at the paper. This was it. Rock bottom. He had stripped me of my home, my money, my reputation, my evidence. My protector was beaten and broken. My children were sick and starving. And now he was offering me a way out. Sell my children. Save Caleb. Save myself. I looked at Leo and Sam. They were huddled in the corner, terrified, eyes wide. I looked at Caleb, who had risked his life for me, bleeding on a dirty floor. I had failed everyone. I stood up. I walked to the shattered window. I looked out at the city. I felt a coldness settle in my chest. A deep, hollow void where my heart used to be. "I can't beat him," I whispered. "He's too strong. He has too much money." Caleb grabbed my ankle. His grip was weak. "Don't," he rasped. "Don't you dare sign that. Look at us, Caleb." I screamed, gesturing to the squalor around us. "Look at this. I am killing my children by keeping them. I am killing you." "If you sign that," Caleb said, coughing blood, "you kill yourself. The Layla I know, she doesn't quit. The Layla you know is dead." I yelled. "She died at the gas station." I sank to the floor. I put my head in my hands. I was done. I was ready to surrender. I was ready to walk into that precinct and sign the paper just to get my babies into a warm bed, even if it meant I never saw them again. I reached for the pen in the envelope. But then, my hand brushed against something else in the envelope. Something stuck to the bottom. A second photo. I pulled it out. It was a picture of Elias and Veronica. But it wasn't recent. It was dated. The timestamp in the corner said, May 12th, 2018. My wedding day. In the photo, Elias was kissing Veronica in the parking lot of the reception hall, while I was inside, dancing with my father. And Veronica, she was holding a positive pregnancy test. I stared at the photo. Why would he send this? Why would he taunt me with this? And then I turned it over. There was writing on the back. But it wasn't Elias's handwriting. It was jagged, scrawled. Asterisk, he betrayed me too. Call this number, asterisk. A phone number. I froze. This wasn't from Elias. Elias didn't put this in the envelope. The PI did. Or someone working with the PI. Someone on the inside was cracking. I looked at the number. I looked at the surrender papers. I had one shot left. One tiny, microscopic chance. I crawled over to the shattered remains of my burner phone. It was dead. Caleb, I said. Where is your phone? The one the PI called. Pocket, he groaned. I fished it out. 1% battery. I dialed the number on the back of the photo. It rang once. Twice. Hello. A woman's voice. Shaky. Terrified. I recognized it immediately. It wasn't Veronica. It was the nanny. The young girl I had seen in the driveway, holding Chloe's hand when they thought no one was looking. Who is this? I asked. Is this Layla? The voice whispered. Listen to me. I don't have much time. He's planning to leave the country. Tonight. With Chloe. And he's not taking Veronica. My eyes went wide. What? He's dumping her, the nanny said. Just like he dumped you. He cleaned out the Cayman account this morning. Veronica doesn't know yet. But if he leaves, you never catch him. And I never get paid. Why are you helping me? Because, the nanny whispered. I know where the hard drive is. The real one. The one the PI didn't get. Where? It's in the safe. In the master bedroom. But you have to come get it. Tonight. During the gala rehearsal dinner. I can't, I said. I'm a fugitive. Then you better run fast, she said. Because the movers are coming at 8 a.m. The line went dead. The phone died. I sat there in the silence. Elias was cutting loose another woman. He was doing it again. He was a serial destroyer. And he was leaving tonight. I looked at Caleb. He was trying to sit up. We have to go, I said. To the police station, he asked. I ripped the surrender papers in half. I ripped them again and again until they were confetti. No, I said, standing up. I wiped the blood off my cheek. We're going to my house. I wasn't a victim anymore. I wasn't a mother trying to survive. I was a hurricane. And I was about to make landfall. Caleb couldn't stand up. He tried, bracing himself against the wall of the textile factory, but his leg buckled. He slid down, gritting his teeth to keep from screaming and waking the boys. I can't go, he wheezed. I'm a liability, Layla. I'll slow you down. I looked at him. His face was a map of bruises. His knee was swollen to the size of a grapefruit. I can't leave you here, I said, panic rising in my throat. What if they come back? What if the PI comes back to finish the job? They won't, Caleb said. They got the laptop. They think they won. They think you're broken. He reached out and grabbed my hand. His skin was hot. He was running a fever again. You have to do this, Layla. You have to go to that house. It's the only way. I looked at the twins sleeping on the pile of dirty coats. If I left, I was leaving them defenseless. If I got caught, I would never see them again. They would be orphans in a condemned building with a dying man. This was the impossible choice. Stay and rot, or go and risk everything. I need a car, I said, my voice trembling. Take the keys, Caleb said, digging into his pocket. The truck is dead, but, look, under the floor mat on the passenger side. There's a spare key. For my brother's car. He lives 3 blocks from here. It's a blue sedan parked on the street. He's in rehab, he won't notice it's gone. I took the key. It felt heavy in my hand. I'll be back, I promised. I swear to you, Caleb. I'll be back before sunrise. I kissed the boys on their foreheads. I kissed Caleb on his bruised cheek. Then I walked out into the night. I found the car. It was an old Honda, but it started. That was all that mattered. I drove toward the north side, toward Oakwood Drive, toward the life that was stolen from me. I parked 2 streets away. I didn't want to risk being seen. I was wearing black leggings and a dark hoodie I had scavenged from a donation bin weeks ago. I looked like a shadow. I walked to the house. 1422 Oakwood. It was dark. The nanny, her name was Sarah, she had told me, said the family would be at the gala rehearsal dinner. Elias, Veronica, and Chloe. The house should be empty. I went to the side gate. It was unlocked, just like Sarah said. I slipped into the backyard. It was immaculate. A swimming pool glowing with blue light. A swing set that looked brand new. I felt a stab of jealousy so sharp it almost brought me to my knees. My boys were sleeping on concrete. His daughter had a castle. I went to the service door near the kitchen. I tried the handle. Locked. My heart stopped. Sarah said she would leave it open. Did she set me up? Was this a trap? Was the PI waiting inside with a bat? I stood there, frozen. I could turn back. I could run to the car, drive back to the factory, and we could disappear into another state. We could start over. Again. But then I remembered the photo. The photo of Elias kissing Veronica on my wedding day. He had been laughing at me from the very beginning. I wasn't running anymore. I looked around. I saw a decorative rock in the garden bed. I picked it up. I took off my hoodie and wrapped it around the rock to muffle the sound. I smashed the small glass pane of the service door window. Crash. It wasn't quiet. It was loud. I waited. Silence.
No alarm.
Elias was too arrogant for alarms. He thought he was untouchable. I reached through the broken glass and unlocked the door. I stepped inside. The kitchen smelled like expensive vanilla candles and cleaning products. Marble countertops. Stainless steel appliances. It was a showroom. I moved quietly through the house. My sneakers squeaked on the hardwood floors. I found the stairs. I went up. The master bedroom was at the end of the hall. I pushed the door open. It was massive. A king-sized bed with white linens. And there, on the wall, a portrait. A huge, oil-painted portrait of Elias and Veronica. They looked like royalty. I wanted to slash it. I wanted to burn the house down. But I had a job to do. The safe, Sarah had said. Asterisk in the walk-in closet. Behind the shoe rack. Asterisk. I went into the closet. It was bigger than my entire trailer. Rows of designer suits. Rows of red-soled heels. I pushed the shoe rack aside. There it was. A wall safe. Digital keypad. I stared at it. 6 digits. I tried the date he left me. 110219. Error. I tried the twins' birthday. 061518. Error. I took a deep breath. Think, Layla. Think like him. He's a narcissist. He loves money. He loves himself. What is the most important day in his life? Not his wedding. Not his children's births. The day he got rich. I remembered a specific date. A date he had celebrated with a bottle of champagne 3 years ago, claiming he got a big promotion. It was actually the day the Phoenix Consulting Shell Company was incorporated. I had seen the date on the paperwork I found online. 041216. I typed it in. My fingers shook. Beep. Click. The door swung open. I almost collapsed with relief. I reached inside. There was a stack of cash. Thick bands of $100 bills. At least 50 grand. I grabbed it. I stuffed it into my hoodie pocket. This was survival money. And there in the back was a black external hard drive. The Holy Grail. I grabbed it. I was about to close the safe when I saw something else. A passport. I opened it. It was Elias's photo. But the name wasn't Elias Thorne. Julian Black. And another passport. A child's passport. Chloe's photo. Sophie Black. There was no passport for Veronica. The nanny was right. He was leaving. He was erasing himself and taking the girl. He was going to disappear to a country with no extradition treaty, under a new name, with all the stolen money. And he was leaving Veronica behind to take the fall for Phoenix Consulting. Since her name was on the LLC, she would be the one going to prison for embezzlement. He was a monster. A perfect, efficient monster. I shoved the passports into my pocket too. I needed everything. I turned to leave. Don't move. The voice came from the doorway of the closet. I froze. I turned around slowly. Veronica was standing there. She wasn't at the rehearsal dinner. She was wearing a silk robe. Her eyes were puffy. She held a glass of wine in one hand and a small handgun in the other. She pointed the gun at my chest. I knew it, she whispered. Her voice was slurred. She was drunk. I knew you weren't dead. Elias said you were crazy, but I knew you were too stubborn to die. I looked at the gun. It was shaking in her hand. Put the gun down, V, I said. Don't call me that, she screamed. You don't get to call me that. You stole my life. I stole your life. I laughed. It was a cold, bitter sound. You were sleeping with my husband on my wedding day. You helped him abandon me at a gas station with 2 infants. You helped him frame me. He loved me first, she sobbed. We were together in college. But he needed the money. He needed your grandfather's trust fund. He said it was just a business arrangement. He said he would leave you as soon as the money vested. I stared at her. So that makes it okay? To leave my babies to die in the cold. I didn't know he was going to leave you there. Veronica cried. Tears streamed down her face, ruining her makeup. He told me he was going to drop you off at a hotel. He told me he gave you money. I didn't know until I saw the news. You knew enough, I said. You enjoyed the money. You enjoyed the house. And look where it got me. She gestured around the room with the wine glass, the gun still wavering. He's cold, Layla. He's so cold. He doesn't look at me anymore. He just looks at Chloe. He's obsessed with her. I took a step forward. He's leaving you, Veronica. She froze. What? I pulled the passports out of my pocket. I tossed them onto the floor in front of her. Look at them. She looked down. She saw the fake names. She saw that there were only 2. He's leaving tonight, I said. He emptied the Cayman account. He has new identities for him and Chloe. You aren't in the plan, V. You're the scapegoat. The LLC is in your name. When the feds come, they're coming for you. Veronica dropped the wine glass. It shattered on the hardwood, staining the white rug red. She fell to her knees. She picked up the passports. She opened them. She let out a wail, a sound of pure heartbreak. He promised, she whispered. He promised we would go to Italy. He lied, I said. He lies to everyone. You were just another mark. I stood over her. I could have kicked her. I could have hurt her. But I looked at her, broken on the floor, and I saw myself. I saw the woman I was 5 years ago. Blind. Trusting. Stupid. I knelt down. "V," I said. "Listen to me." She looked up. Her eyes were lost. "You have a choice," I said. "You can sit here and wait for him to come home and leave you. You can go to prison for his crimes. Or you can help me bury him." "How?" she whispered. "The drive," I said, holding it up. "Is it encrypted?" She nodded. "Biometric. Fingerprint. His fingerprint. And mine," she said. "Dual authorization. He made it that way so I couldn't steal the money without him." I held the drive out to her. "Unlock it." She looked at the drive. Then she looked at the gun on the floor. "If I unlock it," she said, "I go to jail too. I'm complicit." "If you unlock it," I said, "I give you the cash in my pocket. 50 grand. You take it. You run. You get Chloe, and you run." "He won't let me take Chloe," she said. "He'll kill me." "He's not here right now," I said. "Where is he?" "He's at the venue," she said, "doing a sound check for tomorrow. Chloe is with the nanny." "The nanny is on our side," I said. "Sarah let me in." Veronica's eyes widened. "Sarah!" "Sarah knows he's a monster too," I said. I put the drive in her hand. "Unlock it, V. Save your daughter. Destroy him." She hesitated. For a long, agonizing second, I thought she was going to shoot me. I thought her obsession with him was too strong. Then she pressed her thumb against the scanner on the drive. "Green light." "It's unlocked," she whispered. I took it back. "Thank you," I said. I stood up. "Now go," I said. "Get Chloe. Get out of the state. Because tomorrow night, this whole life burns to the ground." Veronica stood up. She wiped her face. She looked at me, and for a second, I saw the best friend I used to have. "I'm sorry, Layla," she said. "I'm so sorry." "I know," I said. "But I can't forgive you. Not yet." I turned and walked out of the closet. I walked down the stairs. I had the drive. I had the money. I had the evidence. I walked out the back door, into the cold night air. I got back to the Honda.
I drog fast.
When I got back to the textile factory, the sun was just starting to peek over the horizon. I ran inside. "Caleb!" I shouted. He was awake. He was sitting up, holding Leo. "You're back," he breathed. "You're alive." I fell to my knees beside him. I dumped the cash on the floor. I held up the hard drive. "We got him," I said. "We got him." Caleb looked at the money. He looked at the drive. He smiled. A crooked, swollen, beautiful smile. "Then let's go to a party," he said. We had 24 hours until the gala. We had 24 hours to take this hard drive, turn it into a presentation, and find a way to hijack the biggest event of the year. We were tired. We were battered. But we weren't victims anymore. I looked at the sunrise hitting the factory floor. "Elias Thorne," I whispered, "your keynote speech is going to be unforgettable." I turned to the camera, to you guys. Do you think Veronica will actually run? Do you think she'll disappear with Chloe, or will she warn Elias? I took a huge risk trusting her. Was it a mistake? Let me know in the comments. And if you're ready to see Elias get exactly what he deserves, make sure you're subscribed. Because the next part is the moment we've been waiting for. The gala. The red dress. The revelation. It's showtime. We spent $3,000 on a dress. It was red. Not just red, it was blood crimson. It was silk, floor length, with a slit up the leg and a neckline that said I wasn't afraid to be seen. I stood in the mirror of the cheap motel room we had rented for the afternoon. I looked at myself. The black dye had faded from my hair, revealing the dark blonde roots, but I had styled it into a sleek, sharp bob. I put on ruby lipstick. I didn't look like the mother who cried in a gas station bathroom. I didn't look like the fugitive hiding in a textile factory. I looked like war. Caleb stepped out of the bathroom. We had bought him a black tuxedo. It fit him perfectly, hiding the bandages wrapped around his ribs. He had shaved. The swelling on his face had gone down enough that he just looked rugged, dangerous. He looked at me and stopped. "You look." He struggled for the word. "Terrifying." "Good," I said. I picked up the small clutch purse. Inside was the hard drive. "Are you ready?" he asked. "No," I admitted. "But he's starting his speech in an hour. We don't have time to be ready." We took a taxi to the Grand Hotel. The valet line was jammed with Bentleys and Porsches. The air smelled of expensive perfume and money. We walked past the line. We walked up the red carpet. The security guard at the door held up a hand. "Tickets." I looked him dead in the eye. I didn't blink. "I'm Mrs. Thorne," I said. "My husband is the keynote speaker, and this is my head of security." The guard hesitated. He looked at my dress. He looked at Caleb, who was scanning the crowd with professional intensity. He looked at the confidence radiating off us. "Right this way, ma'am," he said, unhooking the velvet rope. We were in. The ballroom was cavernous. Crystal chandeliers the size of cars hung from the ceiling. 500 people in tuxedos and gowns were milling about, drinking champagne. At the front of the room was a massive stage with a 20-foot screen. A banner read, "Thorne and Associates, Building the Future." And there he was, Elias. He was standing near the stage, surrounded by a group of investors. He was laughing. He looked golden. He held a champagne flute in one hand and was gesturing with the other. And clinging to his arm was Veronica. She hadn't run. My heart sank for a split second. Had she betrayed me? Did she take the drive back to him? But then I saw her face. She wasn't smiling. She was pale, almost gray. Her eyes were darting around the room like a trapped animal. She was gripping his arm not out of affection, but out of terror. He had his hand over hers, clamping it down. A jailer's grip. He must have found her before she could leave. He must have forced her to come. "He has her," I whispered to Caleb. "Not for long," Caleb said. We started walking. We cut a path through the crowd. People turned to look. The woman in the red dress. The tall man with the limp he was trying to hide. I didn't stop until I was 10 feet behind him. I could smell his cologne. The same cologne he wore the night he drove me into the dark. "Elias," I said. My voice wasn't loud, but in the bubble of laughter around him, it cut like a knife. He froze. I saw his shoulders stiffen. He didn't turn around immediately. He paused, like he thought he was hearing a ghost. Slowly, he turned. The color drained from his face so fast it looked like a physical wipe. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. His champagne glass tipped in his hand, splashing liquid onto his shoes, but he didn't drop it. He just shook. "Layla," he whispered. It was a sound of pure horror. The investors around him went quiet. They sensed the tension. "You look surprised," I said, stepping closer. "Did you think I wouldn't make it?" His eyes darted to the side. He was looking for security. He was looking for the PI. I thought you were ill," he stammered, trying to recover his composure. "Layla, honey, you need help. You're making a scene." "I'm not ill, Elias," I said. "I'm just early." Then his eyes shifted. He looked past me. He saw Caleb. Caleb stepped up beside me. He placed his hand on my shoulder. It was a heavy, claiming weight. Elias stared at him. He recognized him, not as the man in the tuxedo, but as the janitor from the gas station. The man he thought was a nobody. The man he thought he had crushed. And you brought him, Elias sneered, finding a bit of his arrogance. The help. He's not the help, I said. He's the man who raised your children while you were busy stealing my inheritance. A murmur went through the crowd. Asterisk stealing? Children, asterisk. Elias's face hardened. Security, he barked. Get this woman out of here. She's mentally unstable. 2 guards started moving toward us from the perimeter. You might want to wait on that, I said, raising my voice so the room could hear. Because the presentation is about to start. I nodded to Caleb. Caleb pulled a small remote out of his pocket. We hadn't just bought clothes. We had bribed the AV technician in the back booth with $5,000 of the cash from the safe. Caleb pressed the button. The lights in the ballroom dimmed. The massive screen behind Elias flickered to life. Ladies and gentlemen, Elias shouted, panic rising in his voice. Please ignore this. My wife is having an episode. But nobody was looking at him. They were looking at the screen. It wasn't a PowerPoint about marketing growth. It was a video. Grainy, black and white footage. It was security footage from a gas station. The room went silent. On the screen, a car pulled up to a pump. A man got out. He looked around. He walked away from the car, leaving the engine idling. He didn't go into the store. He walked into the woods. Then, a red sedan pulled up. The man got into the passenger seat. The sedan drove away. The footage cut to a woman, me, running out of the car, frantic, holding 2 babies. Running around the empty station. Falling to her knees. That's you, Elias, I said, my voice ringing out in the silent hall. Leaving your 6-month-old sons to freeze. It's fake. Elias screamed. It's a deep fake. She doctored it. Click. The slide changed. Bank records. Thorne and Associates internal accounts. Transfer to Phoenix Consulting, Cayman Islands. Amount $1.20 million. Amount $800,000. Amount $2.50 million. The investors around Elias stepped back. They recognized those numbers. Those were their investments. Phoenix Consulting, I said. A shell company. Registered to Veronica Miller. I pointed at Veronica. She was trembling, tears streaming down her face. But look at the signature on the withdrawal slips, I said. Click. A zoomed-in image of a document. A thumbprint scan. That's your biometric ID, Elias, I said. You stole the money. You framed Veronica. And you framed me. Lies. Elias lunged at me. Shut it off. Caleb stepped in front of me. He didn't hit Elias. He just shoved him. One hard, decisive shove to the chest. Elias flew back, tripping over his own feet. He landed hard on the stage steps. He looked up, wild-eyed. You're nothing, he screamed at me. You're a crazy bitch. I have passports. I'm leaving. You mean these passports? I asked. I reached into my clutch. I pulled out the 2 passports, Julian Black and Sophie Black. I threw them at his feet. You were going to run, I said. Tonight. You were going to take Chloe and leave Veronica to rot in prison. You were going to disappear. Elias stared at the passports. His escape route. His plan B. He scrambled for them. He looked pathetic. The golden boy, crawling on the floor for a fake ID. Chloe! Veronica whispered. She stepped away from the wall. She looked at Elias on the floor. You were going to take her, she asked. Her voice was broken glass. Elias looked up at her. Baby, listen to me. She's lying. We were all going to go. There are only 2 passports, Elias. I shouted. Veronica looked at him. The spell finally, truly broke. The fear in her eyes was replaced by rage. She reached into her purse. "No!" Caleb shouted. But she didn't pull out the gun. She pulled out her phone. She tapped the screen. "I'm live," she said. Her voice was hollow. "I've been live streaming to Instagram for the last 5 minutes. 10,000 people just saw you crawl for a fake passport, Elias." Elias looked at the phone. He looked at the investors. He looked at me. He realized it was over. The narrative he had built, the grieving husband, the business genius, was dust. He stood up slowly. He straightened his jacket. He tried to summon one last shred of dignity. "You think you've won," he sneered at me. "You think this matters? I have lawyers who will bury this. I have money stashed where you'll never find it. I'll be out on bail by morning." "I don't think so," a voice boomed from the back of the room. The doors swung open. Police officers flooded in. Not just local cops. Men in windbreakers that said FBI. "Elias Thorne," an agent shouted. "Step away from the crowd. You are under arrest for wire fraud, embezzlement, and child endangerment." Elias looked for an exit. There was none. He looked at me one last time. His eyes were full of pure, unadulterated hate. "I should have killed you," he hissed. "I should have finished it at the station." "You tried," I said, stepping closer until I was inches from his face. "But you forgot one thing, Elias." "What?" he spat. "A mother will burn the world down to keep her children warm." The agents grabbed him. They slammed him against the wall. I watched as the handcuffs clicked. The sound was better than any symphony. They dragged him out. He was screaming threats, screaming for his lawyer, screaming that I was insane. But nobody was listening. The room was silent. I stood there in my red dress, chest heaving. Veronica was sitting on the edge of the stage, sobbing into her hands. Caleb walked over to me. He took my hand. "It's done," he whispered. I looked at him. I looked at the crowd of wealthy people staring at us. "No," I said, my voice trembling with the adrenaline crash. "It's not done." I walked over to the microphone on the podium. The feedback whined. I looked out at the room, at the cameras, at the live stream Veronica had left running on the floor. "My name is Layla," I said, "and for 5 years I was a ghost. But I'm not hiding anymore." I looked directly into the camera lens. To anyone out there who feels like they're drowning, to anyone who has been told they're crazy, or weak, or broken, I took a breath. You are stronger than the person hurting you. You can survive the cold. And when you're ready, you can light the match. I stepped back. Caleb put his arm around me. We walked down the center aisle. The crowd parted for us. We walked out of the ballroom, out of the hotel, and into the cool night air. The sirens were fading in the distance. I looked up at the stars. For the first time in 5 years, they didn't look cold. They looked bright. But as I stood there, feeling the victory wash over me, I felt a tug on my dress. I looked down. It was a little girl, Chloe. She was standing there with the nanny, Sarah, who had brought her out during the chaos. She looked up at me with big, dark eyes. Elias's eyes. "Is my daddy bad?" she asked. My heart broke all over again. I knelt down. I looked at this innocent child, the product of the betrayal that destroyed my life. "Your daddy made some bad choices," I said gently. "But you are not him." I looked at Veronica, who had followed us out. She was watching us, waiting to see what I would do. I had a choice. I could hate this child. I could hate the woman who helped break me. Or I could build something new. I stood up and looked at Caleb. He was smiling. A real smile this time. We had won the war. But now we had to survive the peace. And I had a feeling that rebuilding a life was going to be harder than destroying one. The wheels of justice grind slow, they say. But when they finally ran over Elias, they crushed him flat. It took 6 months for the trial to finish. I sat in the front row every single day. I wore a different sharp suit every time. I wanted him to see me. I wanted him to see the woman he tried to erase. The federal prosecutors didn't hold back. With the hard drive Veronica unlocked and the testimony from the nanny, Sarah, the case was airtight. White fraud, embezzlement, money laundering. And thanks to the video Caleb and I played at the gala, the jury saw exactly what kind of man he was personally, too. I remember the day of the sentencing. Elias stood up. He looked 20 years older. His hair was thinning. That arrogant spark in his eyes was gone, replaced by a dull, gray acceptance. The judge looked at him over her glasses. "Mr. Thorne," she said, "you have treated the people in your life as nothing more than assets to be liquidated. You are a danger to society not because you are violent, but because you are devoid of conscience." 25 years. Federal prison. No possibility of parole for at least 20. He didn't cry. He didn't scream. He just slumped. As the bailiffs led him away, he turned to look at the gallery. He looked for Veronica. She wasn't there. He looked for his investors. They weren't there. He looked at me. I didn't smile. I didn't wave. I just looked at him with absolute indifference. I felt nothing. No hat. No fear. Just the empty space where a monster used to be. He looked away first. Veronica got a deal. Because she cooperated, and because she unlocked the drive, she avoided prison time. She got 5 years of probation and thousands of hours of community service. She lost everything else, though. The house on Oakwood Drive was seized by the government to pay back the victims. Her cars, her clothes, her jewelry, all gone. I met her for coffee about 2 months after the sentencing. She looked different. She was wearing jeans and a simple sweater. She looked tired, but she looked real. "I'm moving," she said, staring at her black coffee. "My sister in Ohio said I can stay with her. I'm going to wait tables. Try to give Chloe a normal life." "That sounds good," I said. She looked up at me. Her eyes were wet. "I don't expect you to forgive me, Layla. I wanted to say thank you. You could have destroyed me. You could have let me go to prison." "I didn't do it for you," I said honestly. "I did it for Chloe. She shouldn't have to visit both her parents in jail." I reached into my purse and pulled out a check. It wasn't a huge amount, $5,000. It was the first profit check from my new agency. "Take this," I said. "For the move. For Chloe." "I can't," she whispered. "Take it," I insisted. "Start over, V. Be the mom she deserves. Don't let Elias win by turning us into bitter, broken women." She took the check. She cried right there in the Starbucks. We didn't hug goodbye. We weren't friends anymore. We were just two survivors of the same shipwreck, drifting in different directions. As for me, I didn't take the trust fund money. When the legal dust settled, there was some left, but I didn't want it. It felt tainted. It felt like his money. I put it all into a trust for the twins and Chloe. They can have it when they're 25. I wanted to build something of my own. I launched L&C Digital, Layla and Caleb. We started small, working out of a rented office above a bakery. But the story of the Gala Crashers had gone viral. Everyone wanted to hire the woman who took down a corporate giant with a PowerPoint presentation. We grew fast. I hired single moms. I hired women who had gaps in their resumes because they were raising kids. I built a company culture based on truth, not hype. And Caleb, he didn't go back to being a janitor. He went back to school. He got his certification in counseling. He works with at-risk youth now. He helps kids who feel like they've been thrown away. He tells them they have value. He tells them they can survive the cold. We bought a house. Not a mansion. A farmhouse with a big porch and 5 acres of land. The twins are 6 years old now. Leo and Sam. They are loud, messy, and happy. They don't remember the gas station. They don't remember the cold. They call Caleb Dad. We never forced it. It just happened. One day, Caleb was fixing a bike in the driveway, and Leo ran up to him and said, "Dad, watch this." I saw Caleb freeze. I saw him look at me. I saw the tears in his eyes. He picked Leo up and hugged him so hard I thought the bike would break. "I'm watching, buddy," he said. "I'm always watching." We got married last spring. In the backyard. No big gala. No red dress. Just a white sundress and bare feet in the grass. Big Sue from the diner came. Sarah the nanny came. Even the security guard who punched Caleb in the factory came. Turns out, he quit the PI firm right after that night and testified for us. He's a good guy who made a bad choice. We forgave him. It was perfect. Sometimes, late at night, I still wake up in a cold sweat. I dream I'm back in that bathroom stall, hearing the fluorescent light buzz. I dream the door is locked and nobody is coming. But then I feel the weight of the arm draped over my waist. I hear Caleb's steady breathing. I hear the crickets outside the window. And I know I'm safe. I went back to that gas station once. Just once. I drove out there by myself. It looked exactly the same. The flickering lights. The desolate highway. I walked to pump 4. I stood where Elias had parked the car. I closed my eyes. I remembered the terror. I remembered the woman who thought her life was over. "You made it," I whispered to her. "You crawled through hell, but you made it." I went inside. Jimmy the clerk wasn't there. There was a new kid working the counter. He looked bored. I bought a pack of gum. I left $100 bill on the counter. "Keep the change," I said. I walked out. I got in my car, bought with my money, and I drove home. The rearview mirror didn't show a victim anymore. It showed a survivor. It showed a CEO. It showed a mother. That's my story. It's a story about abandonment, yes. But mostly, it's a story about the people who pick you up when you fall. It's about the janitors who become heroes. It's about the friends who become enemies, and the strangers who become family. If you're going through hell right now, keep walking. If you feel like you've been left behind, look around. There might be a Caleb waiting to open the door. Or there might be a red dress in your future that changes everything. You are not trash. You are a treasure. And anyone who can't see that doesn't deserve a seat at your table. Thank you for listening to my journey. It hasn't been easy to relive it, but I hope it helps even one person realize they have the power to rewrite their ending. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button. It helps us share this message with more people who might need to hear it. And please, subscribe to the channel. Turn on those notifications. We are building a community here of people who refuse to stay broken. And stick around. Because while Elias is in prison, and I'm living my happy ending, I received a letter yesterday. It was from the prison. But it wasn't from Elias. It was from his cellmate. And it contained a piece of information about Phoenix Consulting that I missed. A name on the original incorporation documents that had been blacked out. A name of a silent partner. Someone who is still out there. Someone who is very powerful and very angry that their money stream has been cut off. I thought the war was over. But I think I just took down the pawn, and the king is coming for me. But that's a story for next time. I'm Layla, and I'm ready for whatever comes next. Are you? Subscribe now. You won't want to miss what happens when the king makes his move.